Hi students, today we're going to take a look at Chapter 2, Lesson 3, which is all about powers and exponents. But first, I want to talk to you about repeated operations. So, if you have a number that is being added together over and over again, such as 5 plus 5 plus 5, that's repeated addition. And we can write repeated addition with multiplication. So 5 plus 5 plus 5 is the same thing as saying I have 5 3 times, or 5 times 3, and they both equal 15. Well, we can do that with repeated addition, but we can also do that with repeated multiplication. But things change a little bit. That's when we use powers. So repeated multiplication, such as 3 times 3, the same number repeated with multiplication, that can be written using something called an exponent. So the factor 3 is repeated with multiplication. To write that as a power, the number that I see repeated, the 3, is going to become something we call a base. Now, the number of times that factor repeats, in this problem it repeats twice, that number becomes an exponent. So our exponent 2 is because our base 3 repeated 2 times. Now there's a way to remember the difference between base and exponent. This big number that's on the bottom is the base. So think of those B's. Big, bottom, base. And then the little guy that sits up top, that's our exponent. The big bottom base is the number we see repeated, the 3, the factor. The little guy, the exponent, is when you count how many times your other number repeats, how many times your factor repeats. So this 3 times 3 can be written as a power, 3 to the second power, or you can say this as 3 to the power of 2. Now these both equal 9. So 3 times 3 is 9. And then if I asked you what 3 to the second power equals, it also equals 9. Let's take a look at another example. Let's say I have 4 times 4 times 4. So I have the factor 4 repeated 1, 2, 3 times. So how can I write this as a power? Well, the number that I see repeated, the 4, would be my big bottom base. How many times it repeats with multiplication is my exponent. 1, 2, 3. So 4 repeats with multiplication 3 times. So I write it as 4 to the third power, or 4 to the power of 3. Let's do the reverse of this. Let's say I give you 6 to the power of 4, or 6 to the fourth power. How can I write that as repeated multiplication? Well, the big bottom base is my repeating number. So 6 is going to repeat itself with multiplication. Well, how many times does it repeat? That's the exponent's job. It repeats 4 times. So I don't write 4. I need to write a 6 4 times. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now I've shown you 6 to the 4th power is 6 times 6 times 6 times 6. 6 multiplied 4 times. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, it does not equal 24. 6 times 4 is 24. 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 equals 24. But this is different. This is 6 times 6 times 6 times 6, which is a lot more than 24. The thing with exponents and powers is that numbers get bigger quicker. So to figure this out, I'm going to break it down. I'm going to say, well, this 6 times 6 equals 36. And this 6 times 6 also equals 36. So to figure out what this equals, I have to do quite a big calculation. And I'm just going to run it on my calculator for right now. 36 times 36 is 1,296. That's a lot bigger than 24. So when you are simplifying or evaluating, okay, we need to think of multiplication every single time. We multiply that number over and over. Let's do another one. Let's take 7 to the power of 2, or 7 to the 2nd power. 7 is my big bottom base. 2 is my exponent. Remember that your big bottom base is the number that you multiply. It's your factor. The exponent says how many times we multiply it. So for this one, I only need to multiply 7 2 times. There's 1 and there's 2. So what does this equal? 7 to the 2nd power equals 7 times 7, and that one we can do, if you know your times tables, that equals 49. It does not equal 14. Common mistake is to say this times this, and that's not the case. So 7 times 7 is 49. So why would I use powers and exponents? Because if we encounter a problem such as 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, we can shorten that a lot and have it mean the same thing. So how could I write that as a power? My base is 3 because I see 3 repeated. And how many times did I multiply 3? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I could write that as 3 to the 5th power, or 3 to the power of 5. Remember, that's not going to equal 15. It's going to equal 3 times 3 times another 3 times another 3 times another 3, not 15. All right? You can also use powers and exponents when you do prime factorization. So let's say that you do the prime factorization of a number, such as 24. Okay, 24 is made up of 4 times 6. 4 can be made up of 2 times 2. And 6 can be made up of 2 times 3. So one way to write that prime factorization is 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. Well, now that we've worked with exponents, you should see something. You should see repeated multiplication of the 2. So what we can do is take the 2 times 2 times 2 and make it a power. I see 2, and I see it repeated 1, 2, 3 times, which is 2 to the 3rd power. And then I still have this lonely 3 over here. So I could write the prime factorization as 2 to the 3rd power times 3. All right, I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.